Welcome to the book of Shmuel, Alef, chapter 17, Perek Yud Zayin, the ultimate chapter, the most famous chapter in pop culture, the battle of David and Goliath, David and Goliath. Plishtim come to war with Bnei Israel after being defeated in the past chapter, and there's two mountains. You have Emek HaElah, the valley of Elah. You have Bnei Israel here, the Plishtim here, and a valley in the middle. And in those days, how did wars work? Every side gathered their army, they waited, and at some kind of given time, everyone charged at each other, and whoever won, won. So, Shaul and Bnei Israel gather in Emek HaElah, and the Plishtim are on the other side of the valley, and here's what the Plishtim do. Their surprise weapon comes out. His name is Goliath, and his height is 6 amot, 6 amot and a zeret. Amah is like a hand's breadth, so you can imagine about 1.5 feet. So you can imagine this guy is 8, 9, 10 feet, and he's huge. He's a Goliath. the term Goliath comes from this guy, and he has, not only is he huge, a giant, he's like 8, 9 feet. He also has a copper hat on his head. And he is wearing not any shield, but he's wearing a shield that's like the scales of a fish, meaning he's able to be flexible and walk around with this. It was a new technology. He's able to be flexible and walk around with this shield, and the weight of his shield is 5,000 shekels of copper, very heavy. Not only that, he has on his shin guards, and he has a huge spear of copper. And it says that the piece of wood that he used to hold his spear is like a huge weaver's beam, and the weight of the knife, the metal head of his spear, is 600 shekels of metal. And in addition to having the hat and the spear and the shin guards, he also has the shield and a man walking ahead of him with a shield. Basically, the guy's a walking tank. You cannot do anything to him, or we'll see. And so he walks down into the valley, and he screams with his very loud and scary and intimidating voice, and he says, "Why bother with war?" He says to Bnei Israel, "Here's my suggestion to you. I am a Plishti. Come to war and choose one guy. Just give me one guy from Bnei Israel. If you guys send me a guy and he wins me, then all of us Plishtim will be your slaves. If I win him, all of you guys will be our slaves." So basically it's a bet. Goliath is saying, why have a war? Lots of people die. No need. Send me one guy from Bnei Israel. If I win, you guys are our slaves. And if he wins, we all will surrender to you, and we be your slaves. Not only that, he keeps cursing not just Bnei Israel, he curses Hashem. Shaul and Bnei Israel listen to this Plishti, and they're very intimidated. He's very scared, and it's very scary. Meanwhile, the 3 sons of Yishai, the brothers of David HaMelech, are there camping, ready, waiting for war. One is Eliav, then Avinadav, then he has Shammah, and David is still taking care of the sheep because he is not of age to go and fight at war. David is juggling 2 jobs. On the one hand, he goes to play music occasionally for Shaul. On the other hand, he goes to take care of the sheep. For 40 days, the Goliath, the Plishti, comes outside. He screams. He tells Bnei Israel, "Come, send me one guy for war, and let's see you guys beat me." Meanwhile, Yishai, who has 3 sons on the front fighting, tells his little tiny son David, "Why don't you bring some food to your brothers? Your brothers are there. Go bring it to them." It reminds you kind of Yosef, right? The brother that's less popular and is asked to go check on his brothers. So Yishai says, "Take all of this wheat, take 10 pieces of bread, take 10 loaves of cheese, and go see how they are doing." David goes and he's like, "You know what? Let me go check on my brothers." He asks someone to babysit his sheep and to take care of his sheep, and he goes to where the camp of Bnei Israel are, I should say. Yisrael and the Plishtim are getting ready for war, and David takes all of his stuff. He gives it to one of the people who are watch all the stuff, Nosei Kelim, Shomer Kelim, and he says, I want to go check on my brothers. So he leaves all the bags, he goes, checks on his brothers, and as he's saying hello to his brothers, this Goliath, this mammoth of a human being comes out, and he roars, and he's a Plishti, and he's like, again, guys, send me your strongest guy. If you beat me, we'll be your slaves. If I beat you, you guys are our slaves. And whenever he comes, all of Bnei Israel is so scared, they all run back. And someone's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? David hears. David's like, listen, this guy's cursing Bnei Israel, and Shaul the king promised that, listen to this deal, anybody who kills Goliath will get three things: lots of money from the king, his daughter, the daughter of Shaul, will marry that person, and the household of that person will never ever have to pay taxes. So David overhears, A, he hears Goliath roaring, B, he hears that there's this huge reward if you kill Goliath. You will get lots of money, you'll marry the king's daughter, and your household will be exempt from taxes for the rest of your life, your father's family. And he's like, David is like, wait, what? Come again? Can you say that again? And David is like, listen, what happens again to whoever does this? And then they repeat it. And Eliav, his older brother, is like, wait a minute, why are you mixing into the grown-ups' business here? This is none of your business. You are such a bad boy. Who did you leave the sheep with anyways? I know you're such a bad person and you have such a wicked heart. He tells David, you just came here to watch all the action. You wanted to see the war. And it's terrible that you left the sheep and now you're sticking your nose into big people's business to try and find out what happens to whoever defeats Goliath. None of your business. Don't even think about it. And David is like, wait, I didn't do anything. Now, you would think David might be so embarrassed and sad that his older brother spoke to him that way. Nope. He turns around and he asks another person, can you say again what happens to whoever defeats this wicked Goliath? And they're like, yeah, here's the story. The king gives you lots of money. He gives you his daughter to marry. He exempts your father from taxes. And the war's over. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is like something I should totally do. And the rumor starts spreading that there's someone here who's ready to fight Goliath. And they bring him to Shaul. They bring young David to Shaul. And he's like, let me go fight him. And Shaul says to David, nah, you can't go. You're a little boy. You don't have experience in war. David says, listen, I have been a shepherd for my father. And when a lion and a bear came, I ripped them apart with my own eyes. With my own hands, I should say. So David says, listen, I used to be a shepherd, and when a lion came or a bear came, I used to I would tear him apart with my own hands, and I was able to bring my sheep back. So when I was a shepherd, the lion or the bear came and took my sheep, I chased him, I killed the lion, and I brought back my sheep. So come on, this Plishti guy I can totally do, and shame on him because he's cursing not only us, but he's cursing Hashem. And he's like, Hashem saved me from the lion and the bear. He's going to save me from this guy too. So Shaul says, all right, you want to do it? You can go. So Shaul says to David, go and may Hashem be with you. So first they try and dress. David does not even have an army uniform. David does not even have a military uniform. So Shaul gives David an army uniform. He gives him a hat and he gives him a shield. But because David is not experience, he never had experience with this, with being a soldier, he tries walking and then he's like, sorry, I can't walk with this. Let me just go as I am. David takes his stick. He has a walking stick. He takes 5, you ever try go skipping? You want a stone that's really flat. So David takes 5 perfect stones from the water stream that's very, very, very flat and easy to skip. And then he puts it in his little shepherd's bag. And he also has his slingshot. He has his slingshot in his hand. And he now walks out to the valley to confront Goliath. As the Plishti Goliath walks closer and closer, he sees David, and he also has the man walking in front of him with a big shield. And the Plishti, Goliath, looks at David and he's like, are you kidding me? Is this what you guys are going to send? And he sees that David is this young, beautiful teenage boy with red hair. And he's like, are you kidding me? This is what you send? And the Plishti, Goliath, screams at David. He says, what am I, a dog that you're coming to me with a stick? Are you kidding me? What's going on? And he curses David. He curses Hashem. And he screams at David. He's like, I'm going to toast you away. Your flesh will go to the birds and to the animals. And David looks back at him and he says famously, you come to me with a sword. You come to me with a spear. I come to you with the name of Hashem. And you have cursed Hashem. So that's how you've come. That's how you've come to me. So he says, today Hashem is going to make me win you. And not only will I win you, I will take your head, and all of the Plishtim are going to know that Hashem is in charge of Bnei Israel, and people will know that it's not a sword, it's not a spear, but Hashem is the one who can lead us to victory. And so Goliath starts running towards David. He starts running towards David. David runs towards Goliath. And as Goliath runs towards David, thinking that David only has a stick, and as David runs towards Goliath, suddenly David slides his hand into his little knapsack, and he takes a stone out, starts slinging his slingshot, and wham, he nails the stone, this skipping stone that's very sharp, straight into the head of Goliath right here, because remember, Goliath has this big copper hat, so the only option, you can't hit him here because he has a shield, you can't hit him on the head because he has a hat that's made out of copper. So David nails him exactly here in the forehead, and Goliath collapses, and David brings him down only with that one stone, without even holding a sword in his hand. And so David goes to the Plishti, he takes Goliath's sword and he completes it, and he takes Goliath's head, and the Plishtim see that their hero is dead and they start running away. By the way, they didn't keep their part of the deal that they'll be servants to Bnei Israel. David takes the people of Israel and Yehuda start cheering, and they start chasing the people of Plishtim and striking them all the way to Sha'araim, Gat, and Ekron. And they absolutely loot the Plishtim stuff. They take all their stuff. And David takes the head of the Plishti to Yerushalayim, even though in those days, it's important to note, Yerushalayim was controlled by the Yevusi, as we've seen in the story of Pilegesh Bagiva. Nonetheless, he takes it towards Yerushalayim. And as Shaul sees David coming to the Plishti, he tells Avner, who is this young guy? He's like, Avner is like, I don't know, this guy is not in my army. And Shaul is like, find out who this guy is. And as David returns from striking at Goliath, Avner, the head of the army, brings him to Shaul, and Shaul is like, who are you, young man? I guess he didn't remember him. And David says, I am David, the son of Yishai from Beit Lechem. That is the end of chapter Yud Zayin, packed chapter, very famous in pop culture. It's the story of David and Goliath. So once again, Plishtim gather in Emek HaElah. You have two mountains, mountain where Bnei Israel are at, mountain where Plishtim are at, and this huge behemoth of a guy, this huge mammoth guy, stands in the middle. He's 6 amot tall and 1 pinky long, and he says, if you guys defeat me, if one of your guys defeats me, we all Plishtim will be your slaves, and if I beat your guy, you guys will be our slaves. For 40 days he does this. Everyone's afraid to fight him. Meanwhile, Yishai sends David to go bring food to his brothers that are at the camp fighting. David comes. He hears the screams of Goliath. He sees how Bnei Israel are running away. He hears Goliath cursing Hashem. He hears that Shaul promised lots of money and his daughter and a full tax exemption for the whole family for whoever kills Goliath. He's like, wait, that sounds like a good deal. And Eliav, his brother, scolds him. He's like, get out of here, you abandoned your sheep. And then Shaul hears that there's this young kid who's interested in the job, calls him over, tries to give David a military uniform David is like, no way, I can't wear this. And also David says, just like, he convinces Shaul, he says, just like Hashem helped me kill the lion who took a sheep and the bear who came for me, and I ripped him alive with my hands and got my sheep back, so too I'll do that to Goliath. And that's pretty much what happens. David goes out without any weapons other than a stick, a slingshot, and some stones that are in his bag. Goliath is offended by the very sight of who Bnei Israel sent, this young, red-headed, beautiful young man. And what happens then is Goliath is like, are you kidding me? Is this who you sent? This is terrible. What an insult that you sent this teenager to fight me. He charges towards David. David runs towards him quickly without Goliath being able to prepare. David pulls out the secret weapon. He pulls out the stones from his bag, attaches it to the slingshot, slings, hits Goliath exactly in his forehead. And that's when Avner is like, hey, I have no idea who this guy is. He says to Shaul, oh, who is this? Shaul says to him, who is this? And David comes with the head of Goliath, and he's like, I am the son of Yishai from Beit Lechem. That is the story of chapter 17, Perek Yud Zayin. Thank you for listening. It's been a big chapter. Kol hakavod.